Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, we're live here today. Got our friend Mehdi here from Exponential DeFi. Good to see you, sir. How's
Good to see you.
how's how's things with you?
Everything is great right now. How
Fantastic, fantastic. We also got Mr. Andrew here with us as well. Happy Wednesday to you, sir.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
No,
Happy
you're not late
Wednesday.
at all.
Nice to meet you, Mitty.
nice to meet you too.
We're on the eve of the birth of America. Tomorrow's July 4th. We hopefully you all are having great celebration. We are actually celebrating it ourselves tomorrow. So excited to talk about that and more on this week's episode of the TVL show. So we're going to start with a little bit of news. Interesting stat, so we can jump right in and get to the alpha section. And again, this was just somebody who put this together. Apparently, 55. Well, actually, I take that back. The number is 74% of all L2 throughput is powered by the Optimism stack, based on all of the different blockchains that are out there. We're talking about Base. We're talking about OP, Blast, Mode, Mantle, Manta or Manta Pacific, however you want to call it, and Zora, and some others. All OP stack, not all are part of the super chain, like Blast, Mantle, and Manta in particular. They're not part of the OP super chain, but Base, of course, is. Crazy to see that this much tech is being pushed out through the Optimism template. So when we say the OP stack, is that entities can come in and say, we want to spin up our own blockchain, but we really don't want to have to do everything ourselves. You have OP with their Bedrock stack. Arbitrum has their Orbit stack. Even Avalanche has something called Snow, which is their own version of their Avalanche L1. And so they have these templates out there. Polygon also has their CDK, their chain development kit. So if you want to spin up your own, you can do that. So we're seeing more of these tried and true battle-tested blockchains coming out there. When I saw that, I was like, that's probably not the true number. It's probably closer, but either way, more than half at least is from the OP stack, which is great. And considering that, we have the Superchain DeFi Festival from Optimism coming very soon, I'm thinking it's going to come after ETHCC. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting time. So, Mehdi, I'm going to start with you, sir. How do you feel about Optimism? Do you think that there's a lot of growth going there specifically with those chains? I think it's a very interesting number on how much is being used on the L2 side, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a testament to the Optimism team on how much they built, and I think also like the fact that they brought Base and Coinbase and given that Coinbase is now like 30% of the L2s is really like great. So that's the main thing. Also interesting to think about the absentees here. Like we started with Polygon being really, really strong. And I think that there is something happening there around like them trying to move to ZK Sync chain, where basically they are in between two worlds or two blockchains, and that is basically like what's happening. Are we like seeing less development and less things happening on Polygon, and Optimism is basically like taking the whole space right now?
Yeah, pretty much so. Andrew, your thoughts on just Optimism's, I guess if you want to call it, dominance currently on the scene with regards to their TVL and the chains that are using their tech out there to really just drive DeFi innovation at this point?
I mean, it kind of feels bad for Arbitrum. It's like the OP stack is just a swarm of chains that just keep growing. I have to say, other than Base, I can't really say that I'm using a lot of OP stack chains though. Like it's kind of base and ZK rollups for me. So I'm still like not entirely convinced why I should care about the super chain. I'd love to be convinced, but ultimately over the next 2 to 3 years, I think we should be seeing a transition from optimistic rollups to ZK rollups. Could be wrong, but I think, the consensus really is just that the tech is just better. It's just young. So I think the real thing that I'm interested in seeing from the OP stack is whether they manage a transition towards ZK tech or not.
Right, and they have these. We just talked about it 2 weeks ago. The optimism fault proofs, which they finally have, and I think that there's going to be more chains just using some of this tech, and we'll see what happens specifically with the rise in Bitcoin Fi. If you really want to think of that as a trend, they've got a little bit of everything on this chain, because they have Build on Bitcoin, which is their Bitcoin L2, which is called Bob. They have Zora for NFTs. They have Base, obviously, for Base. And they have Mantle, again, for another CEX chain. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens here, because with Velodrome also becoming the meta DEX, where they're going to be a VE33 DEX for all of the Superchain members, I'll be curious to see with this Superfest, this Superchain DeFi Festival, what's going to be happening. If you check out the thread, which I'll have here in the show notes, there's also a link to Mode, which is another OP Superchain member. They had an Accelerator Super Day yesterday that went for 4 hours, where they talk about roadmap, tokenomics, things are going to be happening on Mode, and we've talked about Mode on our deep dive calls, in our mastermind. So excited to see what happens moving forward with the Superchain, but yeah. Speaking of Superchain, Vanek filed an S1, or not an S1, but they filed the motion to create a Solana ETF, which was last week. But now 21 Shares has done the same thing as of yesterday. I'm sorry, the 28th of June, so last week as well. This is now 2 entities that have filed an S1 to create an ETF for Solana. Wasn't expecting that, that's for sure. We'll talk more about my bullishness, as the title in this is of this TVL show is Solana Bulls LFG. This is, I guess it depends on how you spin it, but I wanted to get your take on this, Mehdi, in particular. As a founder in this space, with a little bit of exposure to Solana, what is your take on seeing this happening after the BTC and ETF filings?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think this is super bullish for Solana first, but more than that, what's interesting is what the SEC is fighting. So the SEC started fighting crypto assets first, saying, hey, we're not sure that Ethereum is actually decentralized enough, and therefore is maybe a security, or at least it started as one. And what we're seeing basically right now is that not only Ethereum is getting its ETF, but it seems like Solana may get its ETF too. And so the market is basically pushing the SEC to accept the fact that these assets, at least the top 3, are sufficiently decentralized to be deemed not securities, commodities, basically. Super interesting. What is interesting as well is to see that this same week, we have seen the SEC go against Lido and Rocket Pool, which is basically looking into different types of places where it could argue that DeFi includes securities. And so that's something that's almost like saying, hey, Ethereum is not a security, but staked ETH is a security. It's because it's doing a job on top of having Ethereum. I think even for that is going to be challenging for the SEC to argue that in decentralized finance that this is not decentralized enough. Maybe it will find a way to say, hey, there's a team that is actually doing job. But behind all of this is the Howey test, and the Howey test is basically saying is if there is a common enterprise with an expectation of profit, and that then you could argue that there is a security, and everything relies on that question of is this a common enterprise where you can expect profits based on the work of others. And so if it's decentralized, it shouldn't be based on the work of others, but based on the work of a contract. And that's where the whole question about Lido staked ETH is going to happen. It's going to be very interesting for the industry to understand if we are going to fall under the SEC or under the CFTC.
Great points. Andrew, your thoughts about seeing a second S1 come out for a Solana ETF?
I feel like it's almost silly to do an analysis on this anymore, because it really, like, the whole ETF situation just seems silly at this point to me. Like, I say I'd love to see lots of crypto ETFs. I see no downside. I see only upside for my bags, right? But I don't know what the SEC's argument is going to be. I don't know what the argument of Vanek and others really is. I also don't entirely know really how much appetite there is to buy non-BTC ETFs, but there's only one way to find out. So that's my perspective on it. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see more filings. I'd really like to see BlackRock file one. I think then I would think it was actually happening. But we'll see.
Yeah, that would be the I guess you could say the guarantee. But I guess out there in the comments, if you guys if you're interested in a Solana ETF, what should be next? Should there be an XRP, a DOT, a SHIB ETF? Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen, but at the same time, it's like that. I think, Andrew, you make a great point. Does this open the floodgates for other coins that at least institutionally have value? And I think that's probably the big if, right? Does something like a Solana, in terms of how Sol gathers value, from people using the chain and getting block space, is that enough to warrant interest from an institutional level, right?
I have a perspective there. I think if you look at the Grayscale Solana Trust, which is the only thing that's tradable on the markets today, the value, the price it has is 10 times, almost 10 times, 9 times the value of the Sol that it holds underneath it. So right now, Grayscale Solana Trust is trading at $431, and the net asset value of the coins that it holds is 57. So it's almost like an order of magnitude. People are paying 10 times the price to hold exposure to Solana on the markets. It's insane.
That's a wild number now that you put that out there.
Yeah, wow. It's like the market doesn't make any sense in terms of when people want Solana exposure so much on the market, on their Roth IRA or whatever it is, I don't know, that they are ready to pay 9 times the price.
Wow.
So I think those are floodgates. And it's good for your bags, Andrew.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's say this goes through. I mean, $500 Solana could be on the table. Not saying that it won't be, but that seeing these targets, seeing people flood in here could be a thing. I'm not making a call for that, of course. Of course, none of this is financial advice. Do your own research. Don't ask us. We're DGen, right? But, specifically, I think this is a very interesting time that we're in. And, like we've already talked about, again, we still haven't seen the S1s for the ETH ETFs come through as well. And we were thinking by, tomorrow that would happen. If this were to even go through and be approved, there's going to be some time before we're going to see the effects of something like that happen. Maybe 2, 3, 4 quarters after these actually get approved. So in the event that they do, of course. But yeah, regardless, good press for Solana at this point, right? From an institutional standpoint. So I did want to bring up a couple things that we've talked about here internally. We talked about this before we came on online, Mehdi, was specifically for something that they introduced last week, Solana, and then in conjunction with a firm called DIALECT, and that is Blinks. We talked about this briefly last week about something they were coming out with, but the extent of what they've done now, and I was just listening to the call for Jupiter for Jupe holders, because I am a Jupe holder. Andrew, if you can believe it, 230 Blinks have already been created in less than 5 days. So they are working to bring, so the goal is to bring hyper portable blockchain experiences to your fingertips, whether it be on mobile, whether it be on social media. These are specific. So Blinks is a portmanteau, which means a mishmash of two words for blockchain links. And they connect to this action stack that Solana has exposed. So if you know your programming, it's like an API, a programming interface. So using, all kinds of different dialogues, you can make specific blockchain interactions. And again, this is with the Solana blockchain. So you'll need to turn on this feature inside of either your Solflare, your backpack, or your Phantom wallet. I'll put a link in the show notes specifically for how you can do that. But in terms of what's out there right now, CoinHall is it's a DEX. It's also a trading platform, a charting platform in the Cosmos ecosystem. You can look up, anything, and also Solana. You can look up, any type of coin that you're looking to swap, and then you can literally swap it directly from here. And this is inside of Twitter. And this is just the first playground. You can do this on a variety of different websites. The developer just has to include it. So very bullish. So I'm so curious for you, Mehdi, since Exponential does something similar to this, there's a lot of potential for something like this specifically in the Web 2 world to really get some links into DeFi staking. So I wanted to get your opinion on this first.
No, this is amazing. Solana has been operating a little bit like Apple with very much an integrated blockchain and development team. And so that's what the kind of things that you can do when you have so much integration. In this case, what you have is you have a product that is trying to become really interoperable and infuse itself inside the page. The way that it works is the blink or the link is recognized by your extension and converted into an embedded view like this one, which allows you to basically interact with your wallet, and which is great. I think this has a lot of potential, especially in terms of the user experience. The user experience is everything today. It's the main problem of Web3, and this solves a lot of it. And yeah, definitely amazing to see.
Yeah, agreed. So this is from Meteora, this specific example, where meme coin creators can allow people to purchase meme coins directly from this dialogue, and you can get this to us from any website on your phone, on the internet. It's a very interesting idea. There's a lot of different ideas you can do here. I mentioned this on our insider call. In the mastermind, there's a bunch of different potential here. So voting, airdrops, gaming, NFTs, everything you can do, literally just within regular Web 2 environments, which is key here because there's already technology like this in Web 3 now. There's another decentralized platform called Farcaster that does this quite a bit with their frames. So having this being solved, at least on the Web 2 side by Solana, very bullish for them. A lot of people are going to be coming in off the back of this, I think, because I regularly call Solana the people's blockchain, and yeah, I'm here for it.
I mean, there is a flip side though to it.
There is, of course. What do you
Of
think that is?
The flip side is always like the scam risk. Like scams become like so good.
Yeah,
They just tell you, hey, invest $100, and you're actually like signing, dumping your whole wallet, for
true.
example. So
They have thought of that. So all of these dialogues that we're looking at, they have to be whitelisted with by a registry that's being maintained by both DIALECT and the Solana Foundation. So in order to
it makes
even
a lot
get,
of sense.
yeah,
It becomes permission.
they're working on that for sure. Yeah, but
Yeah,
you got to
it's not
have you got to have
permission
some
that
sort of control there, right? You want to make sure that there's no rugs or anything, and they
Yeah.
limit the operations that all of these blockchain links can do. They can't just do anything that you can do in Web3. There are specific operations that are allowed through these blinks, and I think they're just going to be pretty firm on that. But yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now you've had a couple days to think about it, Andrew. What do you think of blinks today? Do you think this is a really big move for Solana?
I mean, social media integration is cool, but it's one of those things where, like, I don't think I would trust using it.
Okay.
Like, are you guys going to click on blinks on Twitter and buy things or interact with things that way?
Not with my main wallet. Let's put it that way. I'll probably have like a burner wallet, like a setup Phantom wallet that I'm not going to use for anything else but for blinks type stuff. So
then why? Like, if it's something you can't trust with your main wallet, why use it at all? Like, I think it's bullish because other people are going to use it, but I'm not going to. So it's like, who is this for?
I think this is for the normies, man. I think this is to get more
The normies
people.
don't have a wallet yet. So,
Well, I'm sure they can easily set that up with whatever is going to be coming down the pipe, right?
I mean, I guess.
I mean, you can already pay with Solana through Shopify, so they're looking to leverage more of that to make it available to the everyday person. So I think that's going to be key to making this work, is to make it easy, right? Because we talk to people all the time. They're like, there's a lot of friction. There's a lot of barrier to entry to do a lot of this type of stuff in DeFi. So anything that can be done to abstract that, make it easier, I think makes this work. I think this all leads to something much less frictionless to get people into DeFi, or, just using blockchain tech period for everyday activities. But yeah, it's still early. That's the reason why I'm still, hesitant on the trust.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many concerns about it, and I don't understand how those problems get solved.
It's a fair point. I guess we're going to find out the answer to those as we move along here. But regardless, give me a 1 in chat if you're excited to see this first Solana. I know there's a lot of people who are very curious about Solana in our group. A lot of people who have been on Solana that are very excited about this. So I'm in that camp of very excited. I'm bullish on Solana overall now. We're going to get more people using the chain, in my opinion, which is going to be huge for the value of Sol. So exactly. So I think that's the one thing to be excited about. Now, Andrew, I'm going to try and see if I can make you excited with this one. And I don't know how excited you'll be on this, but this is one that kind of, made me turn my head like an owl, 270 degrees when I saw this. Not shocked by this, but surprised by this. I don't know if you've heard about this, Mehdi, but Sony has entered into the blockchain space. They've acquired a crypto exchange called Whalefin from the Amber Group, a Singapore-based group, the Japanese subsidiary of this. They exited because of regulatory issues in Japan. Sony picked that up. They have now rebranded it to S.Blocks, which was Whalefin was the name of the original CEX for it. So now they're going to have a CEX there. No clue on exactly when it's going to launch, but sometime soon. But then I heard something else yesterday because I was like, oh, this is cool. Sony's going to be in the space. Sony has a ton of verticals, right? Ton of, influence in this space. They've been looking to figure out how to make this work with GameFi for more than a year now, to be honest, from what I've been hearing. And then I saw something interesting about A-Star. A-Star is an EVM chain that technically is based off of Polkadot. Its founder is Dr. Gavin Wood, who's a co-founder of Ethereum. And turns out they have a deal, a partnership with Sony on tying together. Well, Sony's just going to use A-Star as a blockchain. It's I guess technically A-Star is a layer 2 blockchain. But this is now very interesting because A-Star, based on my conversation when I went to Denver, they're a part of the Polygon ag layer. So now this starts to get very interesting because, A-Star is still Polkadot, still, very tied in with Polkadot. They have a shared history there. EVM facing, and now they're going to have, things with Sony here in the ag layer, which will open up that liquidity to all members of the ag layer. So we're talking about layer X from OKX. We're going to be talking about Immutable X and a bunch of other blockchains, of course, Polygon, and their new both ZKVM and their Validium chain that they're coming out with. Andrew, I'll start with you. What do you think about this? Is this big news now that Sony's going to start swimming in these streets?
I mean, this is just another investment. I think we've seen a lot of big business and venture capital invest in different aspects of the crypto space. So I don't know that this is huge news, but it's just another one on the list. I mean, these businesses have a ton of money, and they are diversifying. They don't want to be caught underexposed. So it's great to see.
Yeah. And I think for me, that's the part that's interesting because they're so diversified. This lends credence, credibility to DeFi overall by seeing them start to enter this space. And I guess from an optics standpoint, we're all wondering when these big wigs are going to start coming down this way. And I think this is going to be the start to more migration of large institutions to start investing in DeFi protocols. Mehdi, I wanted to get your opinion on this as well.
I don't have any qualified opinion here, but I agree with you that if it was just one piece of news, it wouldn't be significant. Now you have two pieces of news, and knowing how Sony works, Sony, as you said, it works with these verticals, and they try new things. Back in the 90s, they tried PlayStation, and it became the biggest vertical that they had for 20 years. Obviously, in the late 90s, they also tried the Aibo, which is a robot.
Right.
And they killed it quickly. I mean, within 5 years, if I remember correctly. And so it's a very interesting thing. It is a signal that they are getting into this. The caveat there is this just an investment from a subsidiary, or is this a real strategic move from the conglomerate? If it is, then it is a signal that they are taking crypto seriously. But even then, it wouldn't mean much until they become successful, basically, because they are a company that is able to spin out very quickly new verticals, try them. If it doesn't work, they just shut them off.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think Andrew, with your tempered expectations, it's an investment. It is coming from a wholly owned subsidiary of Sony. It's not from Sony corporate themselves. But this is an interesting move in a very localized market with very strict crypto regulations. I'm very curious to see exactly, with the CEX, how they tend to look at that and what they spin up from here. Because I do see, as you mentioned with PlayStation, with some of these other, types of verticals that they do have, specifically with not only just services, so obviously through what they create with GameFi, but also with their TV and their consumer electronics line. Could we see blockchain tech kind of integrated at that point? I'm not calling for like you buy a Sony digital camera and you get airdrops or something like that. That would be silly, but it would be cool to see interesting Web3 focused type of things happening. So I know we have you for just a little bit of time today, Mehdi. So I wanted to give you some time to really just talk a little bit about anything that you want to plug. I know Exponential, of course, is your main bag, but anything else that is the top of mind that you'd like to talk about with the group today would be great.
No, I thought what was the most interesting development in the past month was related to that Congress saying that now they are going to differentiate between what is decentralized and what is centralized, and that clear line of separation between what is decentralized and what is centralized is also the line of separation between which agency is involved. Is it the CFTC or the SEC? I think what's happening there is very interesting in the US. It's very much in line with the tech, and therefore is super interesting for us. As Exponential, we are basically a place where you can have access to DeFi pools, where you can have access to yield from DeFi directly. So very in one click, in a very easy and Web2 interface way. It is obviously for us very important that DeFi be recognized for what it is, as a decentralized protocol, and therefore allows the greatest number of people to have access to it. Yeah, that's our wonderful homepage.
Exactly. I thought I'd bring that up for you.
No, this is great. Thank you so much for
Of
the plug.
course. Yeah. Anything else you want to plug today before I know you have to come off pretty quickly, but just wanted to.
Yeah, we do have a promo right now where we give $100 for anyone who creates a new account,
Oh, okay.
which is like a great way to try the product.
Perfect. Well, there you go. Love it. Check out exponential.fi. And again, Mehdi, co-founder of Exponential DeFi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Greatly enjoy having you here on rotation here on the panel. Loved your takes last time. Loving your takes today. And yeah, looking forward to having you back on another panel soon. So
thanks for having me. And
of course.
I really love the mission of Beacon to make it to help with the education in DeFi. Thank you.
Yeah, we share that passion. So
You got it.
always happy to have our friends and partners here on the show. So
Bye.
good
Take
to see
care.
you.
Thanks, Andrew. Bye.
All right. Going back to the news, and I think it's interesting. We'll talk about a couple other things in a second, but a couple other people brought this up to me just in our group this morning. That interesting news that Pump.Fun has overtaken daily revenue from Ethereum to be the most, I guess, the highest gaining revenue protocol in all of DeFi, which, I mean, I guess it's interesting when you can outperform Ethereum as a blockchain from a revenue standpoint, but I don't know. We're at a very interesting intersection, Andrew. I wanted to just kind of reflect at how we're in a very uncharted area, with our major blue chips. But a lot of people have been talking more about celebrity meme coins, political meme coins, just strange meme culture, just brewing more than anything else. Maybe it's just a sign of just Giga Chad boredom in the space. Or is this really going to be the driver of TVL moving forward? I don't know. Didn't know if you had any thoughts on this. Just curious.
I don't. Yeah, I didn't look at this article before our chat here, so I don't really know like where is the revenue coming from.
It would be coming from the just the daily fees generated for listing meme coins here on Pump.Fun, which I'm not going to scroll because it's seizure inducing and I care nothing for it.
Oh, okay, so that's from listing fees.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, in fact, I think just the other day they had more than, yeah, on Monday, 11,528 meme coins were deployed. That is a staggering number. And this is just on Solana.
I guess they have a revenue stream that's just as valid as Ethereum mainnet.
I know.
The market decides.
The market, I love that. The market decides. What does that say about the market when the market decides such things? Yeah. You know, speaking of the market deciding such things, I'd love it if you would take a minute to check out our free group, Total Value Lock, which is what this show is the namesake of, school.com/beacon. You can learn about DeFi, learn how to become a DeFi investor, go from 0 to pro, absolutely free. Learn from the best in the business. Join us at school.com/beacon. Of course, don't forget to like the stream if you're liking what you're seeing. We do this every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, here on both YouTube, as well as Twitter, as well as Twitch. Not so much on Facebook. I don't know. I need to get that put back up. Come on, Facebook, get with the program. But yeah, what's interesting is that's just Pump.Fun. We also have Dex Screener's Moonshot platform, which is also another platform just like Pump.Fun that uses pretty much a very similar mechanism. So I fully expect that we're going to see something like this happen on Ethereum. I would not be shocked if that happens very soon. And then we're just sitting in a sea of meme coins. So, I mean, we already talked about Time.Fun. Or was it Time.Fun? That we talked about with Keiko 2 weeks ago, where people are tokenizing their time in like total frenzy. Yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, this is the 2024 I didn't see coming, honestly. But here we are. Well, anyway, I wanted to talk about this with you, Andrew, because I know you're super bullish on Phantom Sonic. That is something we've talked about quite a bit on this show. So that brings me to something that has come alive in the last week, and that is Mega ETH from Megalabs. And they've raised $20 million in a seed round, backed not only by Dragonfly, but and Figment Capital. They also have angel investments from Vitalik himself, co-founder of Ethereum, along with Consensus CEO Joe Lubin, Kobe, as well as Mert from the large Solana developer, and Hasu from Flashbots and Lido. So there's a lot of people interested in this project, specifically for the reason that they are going to be streaming transactions at 100,000 TPS. Remember how we were talking about 10,000 TPS for Phantom Sonic, theoretically? They're pushing the idea of the real-time blockchain by specifically going with just hyper-scaling innovations that are literally they're limited by the hardware, is what they're saying. That's what's preventing them from going from the full 100,000 TPS with milliseconds of latency. This is a high-speed frequency trader's dream, in my opinion. But they're currently they just launched their DevNet last week, so we're quite a bit away from this launching. But speed, Andrew. The need for speed, brother. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how they're even going to make this work, specifically with their node operations and the relays and all this type of stuff. But what are your thoughts about a blockchain? I'm guessing this is either going to be an L2 or just an Alt L1 that is EVM compatible, that goes at 100,000 TPS.
I mean, someone has to want to put through those transactions.
True.
So I think that's the big thing. I'm not sure right now how meaningfully different it is to have up to 10,000 TPS and up to 100,000 TPS. So I think a big part of all of this is just who builds on it.
Exactly.
But I see Dragonfly. I see some of these backers here. Maybe they're thinking about bringing high frequency trading on chain. We'll see.
Yeah. For those who are curious about the speed, the average TPS for Ethereum mainnet is 13, by the way. So Solana averages anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000. So this is seeing these numbers, because we're really bullish on Phantom Sonic with their goal on becoming the fastest blockchain out there, and should be by the end of this year, hopefully. That's EVM compatible. So as an Altel one, we're really bullish on that because there will be multiple teams building on it. But I think that lends directly to your point of who's going to build on this. And I do think it's going to be possibly a large number of VC-backed teams. So we'll see where this goes. But getting Vitalik's seal of approval on something like this as an angel investor, no easy task. So we're going to see how this rolls. But I wanted to definitely bring this to your attention, Andrew, because I know that we are looking at performant blockchains moving forward as where a lot of the hot balls of money will eventually go. So I wanted to include this article before we head to our what we learned section, and it is biased because I am Filipino, but there's more to this. There's an interesting idea here. So the Philippines has what's called a social security system. Many countries have a social security system to help their citizens, whether it's for pension, whether it's for public assistance. This is not a new concept by any means. But what's interesting about this is that they have partnered with Thether to allow people to contribute to their SSS using Thether, which is USDT. It's through a broker, a platform called Uquid. On the TON blockchain. How about that for for total based meta type of movement? Interesting tack that they've gone with this. But allows people to use Telegram and the open network, which is TON, which is Telegram's blockchain, to contribute specifically to Social Security, unemployment assistance. I immediately went to UBI with something like this, Andrew. Now, this is something we've talked about quite a bit, is the ability to have some sort of self-yielding fund, right? A rainy day fund, if you want to call it that, or just the nest egg that you're looking to hold on to. With the ability to have a self-custodied yield farm around that, having sovereign nations have something like this. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because that's something that I think is a very interesting idea that you could have from something like this.
I'm sorry, Chris. I don't really understand the question.
So in terms of having crypto assets, like you contribute to this fund, having, that, which is cool to be able to have, Social Security that you contribute to using crypto assets, and then having that, later on gaining yield along the way. So then when times of, if you are, if you're down on your luck, you're unemployed, or if you're just looking for that nest egg later on in life, that it'll be there. To be able to have this possibly from a self-custodied standpoint it's compelling, I think. And kudos for, to at least hearing about this, for at least from the Philippines. I hope other sovereign nations consider doing this. Obviously, this would be something I would definitely expect somewhere like in Switzerland or Argentina or El Salvador to have it done from the stablecoin level. But I was just curious from we've talked about things like UBI, using things like crypto and stuff like that through yield generation. Not for necessarily passive income, but just for universal basic income. Could sovereign nations use something like this and partner with Tether, which is the largest market cap stablecoin in the world, to create programs like this?
Well, I mean, apparently they are, so they certainly can, right?
Yeah, I guess for me, just because we've had talks about this before, do you think this is a really interesting bullish move that a country's willing to go this route? I know you have a thing about security and safety, so hearing that it's using Tether, I don't know, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the part I was gonna get them from you for.
Yeah, I don't know. USDT on TON for the Philippines. I mean, I'd be curious to see like what was the government of the Philippines process on this. I don't know what level of transparency the government has there, but you would think that there would be some public discourse or some public record about how these things are decided.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought that USDT's transparency reports were just fine.
I mean, interesting marketing here, right? Beautiful, just like,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think of when I think of the Philippines. I figure that everything looks like that. Just wonderful beaches, nice light green colors, nice mountains in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, not looking at like the shanties or, any of the sometimes horrible imagery of things like Smoky Mountain in Manila or anything like that, where this is the picturesque, the white sand beaches that you see of the Philippines, and people just smiling knowing that their USDT is going towards greener pastures for them to come and remove from. In later, I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of fees for removing some of this early or something like that. It's like having a Roth IRA or something like that you pay in with USDT per year.
Yeah, so I think a big question for me here is just whether there's actually improvement.
It's a good point.
Is it really better to be using USDT on chain on TON than to just be using currency in an account? Because if it's not decentralized and we're just sticking it on a chain, it's kind of just marketing, or it's ease of use. So that's the other thing. What's the user experience? A lot of questions.
Yeah, it's probably
I don't have a lot of questions. I only have answers on this. I mean, I don't have a lot of answers. I have just have a lot of questions on this. Yep.
I was like, really? What are the answers? No, this is so you do have self custody if you get an outside TON wallet. If you are inside of TON, you do have to KYC. They do have all of that stuff in play, and it's not available to US and UK residents currently for TON. So makes sense for countries like the Philippines or other nations that are looking for easy ways to get on. I mean, I'm glad it's on TON and not, say, Ronin, for example, which is the Axie Infinity blockchain. Axie Infinity being one of the national sports of the Philippines at this point. But I thought it was an interesting idea. I saw this, I was like, I wonder if there are more countries looking at this, because there are plenty of countries doing a pilot program for CBDCs. This is very different from that. Using existing liquid stablecoin asset to now put into social services. So as opposed to doing programmable money that's run by the state. So I'm very curious to see how this goes, because if other countries kind of go on this train, it kind of goes against the idea of a CBDC to have self-custodied money that you can now control on an independent blockchain that's governed by nobody, right? So, yeah, I'm gonna watch this from afar. Of course, I'm very curious to see how this works out. All right, we're Tentil. I'm going to talk about something for what we learned. I was on the Jupiter weekly call. Just a quick outline of that for just sharing a little bit of alpha. If you are a staker in Jupe, which is something we talk about quite a bit in our groups, you can get active staking rewards if you stake more than 50 Jupe, I believe, and you have voted in the last 3 months. You are open to getting airdrop rewards moving forward. So if you haven't bought and staked some Jupe, definitely recommend you do it today at vote.jupe.ag. That'll be in the show notes. They also have created a new tool called Ape, which is if you want to buy meme coins on Jupiter, you can do it this way. It's an independent smart contract vault you put Sol into. It is not tied to your regular wallet, and they do have rugcheck.xyz, which is just a rug checker for scams. And they have a bit of an interface to buy meme coins through. Cool idea. Obviously a tool for the culture. They're coming out with a browser extension to do this on any website like Dex Screener starting next week. So be on the lookout for that. But we'll go ahead and move on to call for help. And a couple questions that I wanted to, specifically answer, because I think these are important questions that people ask. And I'll just tell you that a lot of these questions come from a lot of people who are actually curious about what we offer at Beacon. So I thought I'd take some time to answer some of the more interesting ones. So we'll start with the first one, which is, what is the success rate of your members and profiting, and how soon can you recapture the proceeds? So the answer to that question is pretty simple. I'd say we're all quite successful. We've been thriving, evolving in this section since 2021, and ultimately, if your success depends on you, right? This is a journey in self-custody. You have the ability to recapture your proceeds immediately, depending on the protocol. Some protocols emit tokens every block, which is roughly every couple of seconds. Some are time locked, and you have to lock it for a specific amount of time, or you're vested for a specific amount of time. So, ultimately, this is your journey. We're here to show you what's worked for us, which has worked very well for a lot of people in our community. Next question we get a lot is, what's the lowest amount that I can invest to get started? So if you join our free group, again, at school.com/beacon here across the bottom, we hold trainings every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. They're completely free. It's from our sub-brand called Beat the Banks. And I purposefully do transactions setting up yield farms with less than, in most cases, $20, sometimes less, $30. The reason for that, we do that, is to just show you that this is that's something that anyone can do. You see other people like, oh, I'm doing this, but they pop in 5K. That's not relatable to a lot of people who are probably watching some of these shows. I'm showing you that you can get into farms, do the back of the napkin math, and see that you're earning yield on things as little as $20. And what's beautiful about that is that all you need is a web browser to get started, and a web wallet extension that you install, that you can find out more about when you join our group. And to fund it, you just need an account at a CEX, such as Coinbase, which last I checked was free to open. You just have to deposit your money in there, and of course you pay fees for certain transactions. So, but yeah. The next question we get a lot is, with DeFi, can I grow my nest egg and yet be liquid at the same time? And how often can I pull from the earnings? I think I already answered that, but the answer is yes and yes. This is just the beauty of self-custody, right? When you're at the CEX level, you're locking in funds in an institution to have them control it. If you want to do it yourself, do it in DeFi. And that's the beauty of self-custody. And again, depending on the protocol mechanics, you can withdraw or stake and unstake your liquidity whenever you like. Some protocols have a time lock mechanism, meaning that you're going to stake in for a specific amount of time, and then after that time you can remove your liquidity. There are some like that, but for the most part, you are free to deposit and withdraw your liquidity anytime. Any additional thoughts on that, Andrew, before we move to the last question? Did I hit the points? Was there anything else you'd add to any of those answers? You're muted.
What were the questions again?
A lot of it is just, finding success, being able to come in with as little money as possible. How much is that? And is it easy to grow your nest egg and be liquid at the same time? In terms of, am I stuck staking in here and having to wait 5-10 years? Like if you're, getting in on seed rounds or something like that, as a viable, ROI instrument.
Oh man, there's a lot to unpack there. So I think the big thing about DeFi is that you can get started with essentially any amount of money. But with most investments, you are going to be able to benefit from those investments more. The more that you're working with. So if you only have $100, you should probably get a job or get a second job. Maybe if you have 15 minutes on the weekend, go do some airdrop farming, but traditional DeFi, 10%, 20% APR isn't really going to matter to you if you've only got a couple $100. But in addition, unlike many other investments, you are able to keep your assets liquid, which means that you can cash out much more easily than with some other investments. But yeah, I think you basically said a lot of that just in slightly different words. You can certainly get started with a very small amount of money, but that's going to kind of be for learning, and you can learn. But you're really not going to benefit from it that much unless you either put a large amount of money or a fairly large amount of money or a lot of time in. There's not just something for nothing. You can't just go in with no money and no time and expect to make a bunch of money. That's not how the world works.
No, you're right. I mean, I think you can equate that even to someone who just wants to go buy stocks, right? Like you go and you buy one share of, GameStop or whatever. Are you just going to get rich off of that? The answer is no, of course. You have to put in some time. You have to make specific investments. We just highly believe that you're going to have a much better time doing that in DeFi than anywhere else, right?
Yep. There's nothing else like it.
Nothing else like it. That's why Andrew and I are sitting in the exact same room in front of the exact same desk I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
But yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, a lot of people often ask, are the rates real? Yeah, they're absolutely real. If you want to find out how real they are, get started, put in a little bit, calculate how much you're getting. A lot of rates you'll see on different on different dApps and sites out there, they're an APR, meaning they're an annual rate. So you take that, you divide it by 52 for weekly, 12 for monthly, 365 for daily, and you can kind of track how much you're making, and then size up your positions from there. Yeah, that's we're not. I don't think we're really promoting rocket science or anything. We're just showing you something that's worked really well for us, and we're trying to show to you how you can do it yourself in a very safe and secure manner on your own journey with self-custody. And I think that's the beauty of Web3, and that's why it's the future of how we're going to do business. So if you know anybody that could be beneficial or be the recipient, or who would be a good fit, please feel free to refer them to us, school.com/beacon. Learn for absolutely free. Last question is, how do I find bridges to all these new chains? It's a great question. My initial answer to this is to just join our group at school.com/beacon. We have guides for this already, but there are multiple protocols. We call them You can call them bridges, but we call them interoperability platforms now because there are multiple different mechanisms you can do to just go between blockchains with your liquidity. I can name at least 7 off the top of my head. Stargate, Sushi, Squid Router, dBridge, Orbiter, Rhino, Router Protocol, Bungee Exchange, all interoperability protocols, and there's many more. And they're pretty straightforward to use once you understand the idea of how it works. The idea is just trying to figure out how to do this. And frankly, like we talk about all the time, don't do this alone. Get the edge by doing it with a group. So join us and do it. It'll make your life a lot easier when you work with people who've been in the space like we have, and we know what we're doing, and we've done really well. So with that said, that's all we have for you guys today. And hopefully you have a great July 4th. Whatever you're doing out there, please be careful. Don't stand downwind from sparks, and smoke, and enjoy good times with your friends and family and loved ones. Have some good barbecue. America. Let's go celebrate my freedoms, right?
Yep. There's only one day of the year that you can truly celebrate us throwing off the yoke of our imperial British oppressors.
What a day.
I hope it rains so that I can throw some tea out the window for old time's sake.
I was trying to figure out where you're going there. I'm like, are you just trying to weather rug people who want to fire off fireworks? But no, you want to throw tea out the window. I like it. That's cool. That's a nice symbolic move.
I'll find a little puddle outside, and I'll drop some tea in there.
There you go. Excellent. Have your own little tea party there, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for you today. We'll see you next week, this time with another great panel here on the Beacon TVL show. Hope you found great value today. Of course. We'll see you next time. Take care. 07. Beacons up. Banks down. Take care, everybody. Happy birthday, America.